Across history, species have come and gone. From dinosaurs to the dodo bird to the homing pigeon, scientists believe that all species will eventually go extinct, some earlier than others. Whether it be due to natural cataclysm or human hunting, they will all eventually meet their demise. This encompasses every living organism, including humanity. After all, what are we humans if not just another species? A highly advanced, yet mortal species. We are the one species who will collectively slaughter each other in the name of peace. For animals, conflict is purely survival. For us, war comes from our convictions. What are these convictions? Where do they come from, and how do they lead to the hatred that consumes us? Why do we commit atrocities against humanity, for humanity? As a species, we are connected by our need for survival. Humans are social creatures, and in order for us to survive, we have to band together and support one another. Our need for survival keeps us as a species. But as humans, we desire to let our minds roam free and develop our own mindsets and ideas. From the dawn of humanity, we have continued to evolve mentally, and that creates many different manifestations of happiness. From knowing all truths to being content with one's family, there are many ways that human beings can perceive happiness. The difficulty of attaining peace between each other is how entirely different our experiences are, and this is what creates an inability for us to understand and connect with each other, especially when it comes to reaching a common goal. Everyone has some vision for their future, a vision of what they want their life to resemble, and it is these goals that form the basis for who we strive to become. The way that we go about achieving said goals depends on our mindset, the lens that we see the world in, from morals to values to how we see justice. Our mindset is everything that we know. It is what our lives revolve around and what gives our life meaning. Our mindset is essentially the very essence of who we are, and it is what tethers us to the universe that we perceive. Regardless of what truth you believe in, it is your mind that connects you to the universe and creates the framework for how your fabric of reality functions and what your world means to you. The creation of this world begins at childhood. As children, our minds are very malleable and thirsty for knowledge. We absorb everything: our environment, the people around us, what we see, what we hear, and what we feel. Childhood is a very important time in our lives, full of both physical and mental changes. As we play and grow and learn, we absorb experience. The environment around us plays a massive role in dictating what experiences we're exposed to. Customs and traditions form what we value and identify with as children. Culture is a powerful force. It can create beautiful connections between human beings, but it can also spark wars and terrorism. Culture is essentially the blank slate for who we are. When we are born, we grow up in a specific environment with a specific set of guidelines and social rules. In other words, culture. As we grow older and develop our own experiences separate from our culture, which often draws influence from other cultures, we begin to change and create our very own unique mindset. But of course, we live in a very dynamic world, and every human being experiences different events throughout their lives, so we all absorb different experiences and react to them in different ways. This is what makes our identities vastly different from each other, and the way we are connected to the universe and define the meaning of life is perceived completely differently. While we are all connected to the universe, our inner world, we cannot easily connect those universes together. Our thoughts and ideas manifest completely differently from each other and sometimes struggle to coexist with one another. So as a species, while we may have the common need for survival, we do not always have common goals and values in mind. The worlds we live in are entirely different. In our world, humans have become overwhelmed with the terrors around us. From riots to pandemics, we're consistently being bombarded with experience which morphs our thoughts into pessimism. As time goes on, we become more and more numb to the world around us, the suffering that our fellow humans face, and the convictions that plague every last individual one of us. We all feel unhappiness, yet we are also incapable of connecting with each other through our unhappiness because our experiences of unhappiness are so widely different. As our leaders continue to tell us what is right and wrong, who we should hate and love, it drives a further wedge between what we see of the world and how the world actually works. Unable to further ourselves by overcoming our convictions and embracing struggle, ignorance has overtaken humanity and created a hateful species, one that can easily be controlled and influenced. Hatred is created in order to protect love. And as our governments grow and have more impact on our lives, there's a growing risk of being torn apart even further. Although the government is meant to serve the people, many people have grown not to trust the government, as the government only cares about its own interests, especially the people in the highest classes, the elites of society who dominate the rest financially and politically. As hatred and division grows, it becomes easier for governments to control the masses, turn us against each other, and render us slaves to the system that they created. We live in a world where hatred and dogma are constantly ripping us apart, and we are fed propaganda to squeeze us into certain views of life that only we can understand, which in turn limits widespread knowledge. War is created in order to protect values and cultures, and in turn, happiness. As our own convictions limit our minds to explore the universe and attain happiness, the risk of looming government propaganda and division is especially dangerous in our weak and vulnerable state of human hatred. The world is forever changing, and many things are different now than they were many years ago. Different generations struggle to adjust to the dynamic world we live in, and this only creates further inability to understand each other and see the world for what it truly is. Technology is another factor responsible for not only splitting us apart, but also creating false illusions of reality. Technology is meant to be used as a tool by people, but it has instead started to control people's lives, as algorithms designed to feed into whatever one wants continue to be dumped into screens. When one sees only when they want to see, it limits real-world experiences and understanding of alternate points of view. The new age of technology has and will continue to beckon in massive amounts of new social change, as well as spark hatred in the common people, as long as people continue to remain ignorant of each other's shortcomings and rely on their unknown comforts rather than look at the world on a wider, more in-depth scale. The laws that a civilization creates are meant to establish moral standards, maintain order, protect liberties and rights, and arguably, most importantly, enforce justice. Justice is another aspect that stems from happiness, which can also be defined in many different ways. Some may believe justice is an eye for an eye, while some believe it is being the better person or giving one what they are due. Whatever the definition of justice is, it is important to not allow human emotions to completely dictate how we serve justice. Being controlled by emotions destroys any semblance of rational thinking and only leads to catastrophe. In this hateful world, people are often driven into thinking with their hearts rather than with their minds. This is why it is so imperative that people take initiative in their own lives to accumulate mental acuity in order to forge an existence that one understands and is able to lead into a path of true justice, rather than blind emotional revenge. Humanity strives to find a common enemy rather than a common goal. As individuals, we gravitate towards hatred, a way to dispense our pain and suffering outside. It is much easier to slap one's hand away than it is to hold on to it. Military alliances throughout the world are formed in order to combat another country that both parties do not like. War is justified as a necessary evil in order to protect national interests. Killing is justified in the name of loyalty. War only causes death and destruction and tears humanity apart, all in the pursuit of love. As time goes on, both our understanding of happiness and how we define it continues to change. Humanity continues to go down the line of hatred in order to defend love, and we continue to gain new experiences in order to let our minds roam the universe. However, much stands in the way of a utopia of happiness, as our inability to understand each other can only be overcome by a willingness to reflect upon our actions as people and question what defines us, what builds our identity. We must know our place in the world and how we got where we are, studying the past and the generations who were part of it, so that history does not repeat itself. From culture to ideology to the mistakes we've made as people, it all plays a role in securing the goal of humanity, to progress and become a species of acceptance and harmony in order to understand the secrets of the universe and beyond. As humanity, we must push the boundaries of our mere comfort and strive to push for advancements in our world, advancements to connect to each other and to shove away our convictions before we drive ourselves to extinction in the name of love.